You stole my internet? It was just past midnight when Elijah Torres heard the knock. At first, he thought he'd imagined it, just wind or the old oak branches scraping the porch roof. But then came another knock. Harder. Sharper. More urgent. He groaned, dragged himself off the couch, and peeked through the peephole. 2 police officers stood on his front porch, flashlights drawn. And behind them, Patricia Ellison. Patty. His neighbor from 2 doors down. Arms crossed, jaw clenched, robe flapping in the wind like some suburban villain from a Lifetime movie. Her mouth twisted into a smirk like she had just personally delivered a war criminal to justice. Elijah opened the door, more confused than concerned. Sir, one of the officers said, stepping forward. We've received a report of unauthorized access to a wireless network. Your neighbor claims you've hacked into her internet and disrupted her service. Elijah blinked. Then blinked again. I'm sorry, what? Patty stepped forward, pointing a trembling finger. Don't play dumb, Elijah. My son and I have been using that network for months without any problems. Then suddenly, boom! No internet. And what changed? You changed the password. Elijah stared at her, slack-jawed. You're admitting you've been using my Wi-Fi? You made it public, she snapped. You didn't tell anyone the password changed. That's sabotage. The younger officer shot his partner a sidelong look like, are we seriously doing this? Elijah ran a hand down his face. Let me get this straight. My internet was running slow. I checked my router, saw a bunch of devices I didn't recognize, and changed my password. That's all I did. That's not all you did, Patty hissed. You cut off our access. My son can't even do his homework now. Elijah raised an eyebrow. Homework? He's been yelling into a gaming headset all night for the past 3 months. I can hear every curse word through the wall. Patty gasped like he just insulted the Pope. How dare you? The officers shifted uncomfortably. The older one cleared his throat. Ma'am, your neighbor is within his rights to change the password to his own network. If you were using it without permission, that's not on him. But this is a community, she shrieked. We're supposed to share. No, Patty, Elijah said coolly. This is a neighborhood, not a commune. She looked like she might explode. One of the cops turned to Elijah. Do you want to press charges? Unauthorized access could technically be theft of service. Elijah paused. Oh, the temptation. But instead, he shook his head. No. I just want to go back to sleep. The officers nodded and turned to Patty. Ma'am, please refrain from accessing your neighbor's internet. If you need help, call your service provider. Patty, red-faced and sputtering, spun on her heel. This isn't over, she snapped, storming off into the night like a deranged villain whose plot had been foiled. Elijah closed the door slowly, muttering under his breath. Oh, I know it's not. By the next morning, Elijah figured things had settled. He poured his usual mug of black coffee, stepped onto his porch, and reached for the newspaper, only to find his mailbox jammed with folded papers. Dozens of them. Most were handwritten. He raised an eyebrow and pulled them out. The first note, scrawled in shaky block letters, read, Shame on you for destroying community spirit. The second, on pink stationery, was even more dramatic. You have broken the sacred trust of neighbors. God sees all. And then came the kicker, a printed petition titled, Make Elijah Give Back the Wi-Fi, complete with a dozen signatures, all suspiciously in the same handwriting. Elijah blinked, stunned. Then he chuckled. It wasn't even noon, and Patty had already started a smear campaign. At the local cafe that afternoon, things got worse. He pushed open the door and was met with silence. 2 women near the window immediately lowered their voices and stared into their coffee cups like they'd just seen a ghost. That's him, one of them whispered. The hacker. The Wi-Fi thief? The other replied. Unbelievable. At the grocery store, a dad grabbed his kid's arm and pulled them out of the aisle Elijah was in, like he was contagious. Even his usual mailman, Frank, barely made eye contact during delivery. It was ridiculous. He had lived in Maple Glen for 3 years. Never so much as parked the wrong way on trash day. And now? He was a digital criminal in the eyes of half the neighborhood. All because he changed his own Wi-Fi password. Elijah sighed and tried to brush it off. He'd been through worse. Being the lone Latino homeowner in a predominantly white HOA neighborhood taught him how to keep his head down. But this was something new. A full-blown character assassination over internet access. Back home, he tossed the notes onto the kitchen counter and sat at his desk, something gnawing at the back of his mind. He opened up his laptop and logged into his router's admin settings. Habit mostly. He wanted to make sure things were finally back to normal. But what he saw made his stomach dip. A device, unfamiliar, unnamed, was still connected to his network. The MAC address didn't match anything he owned. It had been active for the last 20 minutes. That didn't make sense. He had reset the password twice. Everything else had been kicked off. Elijah stared at the screen. Someone had found a way back in. Or had never left. He clicked deeper into the logs, noting the IP activity. Nothing looked like regular browsing. There were large data packets. Secure connections. Long sessions. His heartbeat quickened. Someone wasn't just stealing Wi-Fi anymore. Someone was hiding something on it. Elijah leaned back in his chair, eyes locked on the rogue device still connected to his network. His first instinct was to change the password again, but he didn't. Not this time. This wasn't just freeloading anymore. He opened a second window on his desktop and activated a tool he hadn't used in years, an old network monitor he once installed during a freelance job for a cybersecurity client. It wasn't fancy, but it could track live IP activity, data transfer rates, even destination domains. He renamed his Wi-Fi network something enticing and generic. Free_public_Wi-Fi_5G. Then, he set up a sandboxed monitoring environment, an isolated space where he could safely watch incoming traffic without exposing his real files. If they were going to keep sneaking in, they were walking into his trap now. And it didn't take long. Within 10 minutes, the rogue device connected again. Same MAC address. Same anonymous device tag. And then, it started working. At first, Elijah thought maybe they were just watching YouTube or scrolling Reddit. But then he noticed encrypted outbound connections, VPN tunnels, secure logins, sessions pinging financial institutions, Coinbase, Chase, Bank of America, Gemini, all bouncing through his network. He sat forward in his chair. Whoever was doing this wasn't just browsing cat videos, they were accessing accounts, logging into financial systems, sending authentication tokens. He stared in disbelief as the activity kept going. Transfers. Logins. Even an attempt to bypass two-factor authentication using a spoofed SMS gateway. This wasn't freeloading. This was fraud. He double-checked the IP origin. The router showed the device's physical location was less than 100 feet away. Elijah pulled up his network topology map. It was coming from the west side of his house. Which meant Patty's house. His pulse picked up speed. His first thought was, it's Patty. It has to be her. But then, he remembered her confused reaction the night before. It had felt genuine. Stupid, yes, but not malicious. Still, someone in that house was smart. Too smart. Whoever this was had slipped past 2 password resets, ignored router blacklisting, and was now bouncing between financial networks like it was nothing. And they were doing it all through his connection. If something went wrong, if a bank traced the IP, it would come back to Elijah. His hands hovered over the keyboard. He thought about calling the police. But what could he say? My neighbor's mystery device is laundering crypto on my Wi-Fi. They'd laugh him off the line. He needed proof. Hard proof. So he let the trap run deeper. He activated a packet capture system and began logging every data transfer, every packet header, every destination address. He timestamped each login attempt, every access point, and cross-referenced them with the router logs. It took hours, but by the end of the night, Elijah had compiled a neat little dossier. It was damning. Dozens of successful logins to financial accounts, some registered under different names. Cryptocurrency wallets with multiple transactions. To even ping the FBI's public fraud watch list. And every single action had originated from his network. Or rather, from Patty's side of the fence. Elijah stared at the blinking terminal on his screen. The rogue device was still online, still active, still transferring data like nothing was wrong. But now Elijah knew the truth. This wasn't just some entitled neighbor stealing bandwidth. This was someone laundering digital money. Someone skilled, dangerous, and sloppy enough to leave a trail. He leaned back, breath slow, mind racing. Patty had started this war over Wi-Fi. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that someone under her roof was about to bring the FBI straight to her door. And Elijah? He was going to make damn sure of it. Elijah didn't sleep. By sunrise, he had screenshots, data logs, IP traces, all bundled neatly in a folder labeled Evidence. He printed the most damning pages, timestamps, device IDs, logins to banking institutions, and a list of cryptocurrency wallets pinged through his network. He wasn't just doing this for himself anymore. If something shady was happening on his signal, it could blow back hard. His name, his address, his IP, if this escalated, he'd be the one in the crosshairs. Still, this wasn't the kind of thing you call in with a tip. Not yet. He needed to confront the source first. At 9:04 a.m., Elijah knocked on Patty Ellison's door. The blinds rustled. He could hear footsteps. A pause. Then the door opened a crack. Patty peeked out, her eyes narrowing the moment she saw him. "Oh," she said flatly. "It's you." "Morning, Patty," Elijah replied, holding up the folder. "We need to talk," she scoffed. "If this is about the Wi-Fi again, I already told the HOA you were being unreasonable. This isn't about the HOA. And it's not about sharing a signal." He held the folder out. "It's about someone in your house using my network to access hacked financial accounts." Patty blinked. For a moment, she looked genuinely confused. "What are you talking about?" "These are logs," Elijah said, flipping it open to a highlighted page. "A device from your house has been connecting to my Wi-Fi using spoofed access, even after I reset my password. And not just browsing, I'm talking banking logins, crypto wallets, identity theft level stuff." Patty's mouth opened, then closed. Then she frowned. "That's ridiculous. I don't even know how to turn on Bluetooth." Elijah raised an eyebrow. "I'm not saying you did it. But someone in your house is doing something illegal. And it's coming through my network." He saw it then, that flicker in her expression. The gears turning. The way her head snapped slightly to the side, like she just connected a very uncomfortable dot. She turned, yelling into the house. "Toby! Get down here!" Elijah tensed. Thumping footsteps pounded from upstairs. Moments later, Toby Ellison appeared at the top of the stairs, baggy hoodie, headphones slung around his neck, eyes bloodshot like he hadn't slept either. He froze when he saw Elijah. "What?" he mumbled. Patty jabbed a finger at Elijah. "He says someone's been doing something with our internet. Something illegal. I don't suppose you know anything about that." Toby blinked. "What? No. That's stupid." "Then what's this?" she snapped, snatching the folder from Elijah's hands. She flipped through the pages, squinting at the logs. "I don't understand any of this," she muttered. Then, louder, "Is this real?" Elijah nodded. "Every connection came from your house. And every one of them ties back to a device that only ever appears when your network is active." Patty's eyes narrowed. She turned toward her son. "Toby, give me your laptop." Toby stiffened. "It's mine." "Now. Mom, seriously. Give me the laptop." Toby backed up a step. No! You don't get to! But she was already moving. In a flash, she grabbed the laptop from his shoulder bag, yanked it open, and stormed to the kitchen table like it was a police interrogation. Elijah stepped in, watching over her shoulder. The screen blinked to life. Multiple browser windows. Tabs filled with login panels. Hidden folders with names like temp_wallet_2 and alt_creds. Patty's eyes grew wide. What the hell is this? Toby stood frozen in the hallway, pale as chalk. It's not what it looks like, he muttered. Elijah leaned closer. One folder caught his eye, an Excel sheet labeled Master Access. Inside, rows of stolen usernames, passwords, emails, banking info, crypto wallet keys. Some folders had recent timestamps, less than an hour ago. Patty looked up slowly. Toby, what have you done? It's just test stuff. It's fake data. For school. Toby blurted, but even he didn't sound convinced. Elijah turned to him, voice steady. You spoofed your MAC address. Masked your IP? Routed everything through my router to stay hidden. You've been committing real cybercrimes. Patty dropped the laptop like it burned her. This can't. He's a good kid, she whispered. I didn't mean to, Toby said, his voice cracking. It started as a game, but it just kept going. Patty swayed, gripping the counter. Her face was pale, her eyes darting between Elijah, the screen, and her son. And for the first time since Elijah had moved into the neighborhood, Patty Ellison was completely, utterly speechless. For a long, stunned moment, no one spoke. Patty stood frozen, one hand still hovering above her son's laptop, the other clutching the back of a chair like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Toby looked like he might cry, or run. Elijah broke the silence. Patty, this is serious. Your son's not just browsing shady websites. He's committing federal crimes. That snapped her out of it. Her head whipped toward him, eyes wide with indignation. Excuse me? You heard me, Elijah said calmly. You want to deny it, fine. But that laptop is full of stolen logins, account data, and cryptocurrency keys, all routed through my IP address. No, 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 she shouted, her face flushing red. You did this. You're framing him. You're trying to destroy us. I literally walked in here and handed you the evidence, Elijah said, pointing to the open folder on the counter. I didn't hack your kid. He hacked me. Patty's voice rose in pitch. You probably planted this. You made it look like he did it. You're some tech guy, right? You lured him into this, didn't you? Elijah stared at her, deadpan. You're accusing me of, what? Grooming your teenage son into cybercrime? Her mouth opened, then closed. That's not, you twisted the situation. You wanted revenge after I called the cops. I wanted my internet back, Elijah said coolly. And instead I found out your kid is laundering crypto through my router. Patty's breathing was ragged now. Her fingers curled into fists at her sides. This can't go public. You don't understand. This would ruin him. Elijah folded his arms. You think I'm the one you need to worry about? She blinked. Then suddenly, Patty's expression changed. Her shoulders dropped, and she tried to smile, but it came out more like a grimace. Okay, she said, voice trembling. Look. We can work this out. You don't have to tell anyone. Elijah didn't move. I can bake you something, she offered quickly. I make incredible snickerdoodles. Everyone at book club says they're divine. I'm allergic to cinnamon, Elijah replied. Patty's smile twitched. Okay, no problem, chocolate chip. Or I could pay you. Would that help? 1,000? 2? Elijah tilted his head. You're trying to bribe me. To cover up your son's federal crimes. He's just a kid, she shrieked suddenly. You want to ruin his whole life over some mistakes? He's not 12, Patty. He's 17. Old enough to know stealing is wrong. And you still haven't asked him why he did it. Toby shifted uncomfortably in the corner, staring at the floor. Patty rounded on her son. You didn't do this, right? Tell him you didn't. This man is lying, he has it out for us. Toby's voice came out small. Mom, he's not lying. What? I didn't mean for it to go that far. Toby mumbled. It started with Netflix accounts, then Spotify, and it just escalated. Patty's jaw dropped. You idiot! Elijah opened his mouth to respond, then froze. Knock, knock, knock. A sharp, solid rap echoed through the front door. Everyone in the room went still. Then came the deep, commanding voice. This is the FBI. We need to speak with Toby Ellison. Patty's eyes widened like dinner plates. Toby's knees almost buckled. Elijah blinked. Well, that was faster than I thought. You called them? Patty shrieked, spinning toward him. Comment 1. If you would have changed the Wi-Fi password sooner. I didn't have to, Elijah said. They were probably watching those crypto wallets long before I ever noticed your Wi-Fi leaching. No, she screamed. No, this can't be happening. Another knock, this one louder, sharper. We have a warrant. Open the door. Patty clutched at her chest, pacing in tight circles. We can hide it. We can delete everything. We can. She spun toward Toby. Go! Get to your room, wipe the drive. Toby didn't move. He looked paralyzed. Patty turned back to Elijah with wild eyes. You don't have to let them in. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. Say it was you. You're the tech guy, blame it on you. I think you've officially lost your mind, Elijah said flatly. Then, in one last, desperate act, Patty grabbed the laptop and shoved it into Elijah's arms. Here, she cried. Take it. It's yours now. He stared at her in stunned silence. Are you seriously trying to frame me right now? Another thunderous knock shook the door. Patty froze. Elijah just sighed. You might want to tell them to bring an ambulance. I think you're about to implode. The knocking turned into pounding. This is your final warning. Open the door or we will enter by force. Patty stood frozen, her face drained of color. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. The laptop Elijah had refused to touch lay on the floor where she dropped it seconds earlier. Then, without warning, she bolted. Elijah barely had time to react as she turned on her heel and sprinted toward the back of the house, knocking over a dining chair in her wake. Mom? Toby cried, stunned. Elijah, do something! She shrieked as she ran. But Elijah didn't move. He watched, arms crossed, as Patty crashed through the sliding glass door, only to remember, far too late, that it was still closed. The glass shattered with a loud crack, sending shards in every direction. She tumbled through the frame and landed in a crumpled heap among her meticulously arranged garden gnome display. From the front of the house, boom, the door burst open. A swarm of FBI agents flooded inside, weapons drawn but steady, moving with practiced urgency. Toby Ellison? One barked. Toby, pale and trembling, slowly raised both hands in the air. Why, yeah. That's me. Two agents moved toward him, cuffs already out. Another scanned the room, eyes landing on the laptop on the floor. He swooped in and secured it in a zippered evidence bag. A third agent looked toward the back of the house, then frowned. We've got movement outside. Elijah followed his gaze. Another agent had moved to the patio and was now peering down at Patty, who was moaning softly among ceramic gnomes and shattered glass. Ma'am, the agent called out. Do you need medical attention? I tripped, she screamed, trying to sit up. I panicked. I didn't mean to jump, I was looking for my cat. Elijah muttered under his breath. You don't even own a cat. Back inside, one of the agents pulled Elijah aside. You're the one who reported the unauthorized access? He nodded. Didn't think it'd turn into this. The agent gave him a half smile. You'd be surprised how often these things go deeper than they look. We've been tracking digital fraud rings across 3 states. Toby's IP kept showing up, but always routed through anonymizers and spoofed addresses. He held up the laptop bag. Until now. Elijah exhaled. So you already knew about him? We had him on the radar, the agent said. But your logs and timestamps helped seal it. And now we've got the device with active sessions? That's enough to charge him. Toby, now cuffed, looked completely deflated. His hoodie hung loose on his shoulders, and his head drooped as 2 agents led him toward the door. Patty, having limped her way back around the house, suddenly threw herself in front of them. Wait! Stop! You don't understand. He's just a child. The lead agent gave her a flat look. Ma'am, your son is 18. He's a legal adult. Do you think she was just making excuses? Comment yes or no. But he didn't mean to hurt anyone, she cried. He just needed a creative outlet. He stole thousands of dollars worth of digital assets. The agent replied. That's not creativity. That's a felony. Patty reached for Toby, who flinched away. I'll get a lawyer. We'll fix this. Please don't, Toby muttered. You've done enough. Elijah stood off to the side, silent, watching the collapse unfold like the final scene of a slow-motion car crash. He didn't smile. Not exactly. But there was something deeply satisfying about watching the woman who had tried to label him a criminal now begging law enforcement to believe her. As the agents walked Toby out, one paused beside Elijah. Thanks for flagging this when you did, he said. You probably saved a lot of people from getting their identities stolen. I just wanted my Wi-Fi back, Elijah replied. The agent chuckled, then turned serious. You kept meticulous records. That kind of diligence matters. He nodded and left. The house was a wreck, glass everywhere, overturned furniture, laptop cord trailing across the floor like a lifeline cut loose. Patty slumped onto her knees, hands covering her face. This is so unfair, she whispered. Elijah finally spoke. You're right about one thing. She looked up, eyes red. You did destroy community trust, he said. But not because I changed a password. Because you taught your son that rules don't apply to you, and now you're both paying the price. She didn't reply. She just sat there, surrounded by the mess she'd made. By 9 a.m. the next morning, a moving truck was parked outside the Ellison house. Patty didn't look at anyone. She kept her head down as she loaded boxes into the back of the U-Haul, sunglasses on despite the overcast sky. Her once perfectly trimmed hedges had been stomped flat, half of her gnome collection still broken on the lawn like battlefield debris. Toby wasn't there. He was being held in federal custody, pending arraignment. The street was unusually quiet, as if the whole neighborhood was holding its breath, watching, absorbing what had just unfolded over the last 24 hours. Nobody helped her load. Nobody waved goodbye. By noon, the truck was gone. So was she. Elijah stepped onto his porch, coffee in hand, the first one he'd enjoyed in peace in weeks. No passive-aggressive letters in the mailbox. No police flashlights at midnight. Just the sound of birds and the faint hum of his router working as it should, privately. He sat on his porch swing, letting the breeze wash over him. He unlocked his phone, opened his Wi-Fi settings, and smiled at the clean list. Only his devices. No rogue MAC addresses. No freeloaders. Just peace. Morning, Elijah! A voice called. He looked up to see Mr. Donnelly, an old-timer who lived across the street, shuffling by with his beagle. Morning, Elijah replied. The man gave him a knowing nod. Heard the Ellisons moved out. Yep, Elijah said, sipping his coffee. Pretty quietly, too. Mr. Donnelly smirked. Guess that means you won. Elijah chuckled. Didn't feel like it for a while. But yeah, I think I did. The old man tipped his cap and kept walking. Elijah leaned back, eyes closed for a moment, letting it all settle. All of it, from the false accusations, to the whispers, to the FBI battering down the door, had started with one thing. A password. And finally, he had it all to himself. Like this story, if you believe karma always finds a way. In the end, this story wasn't just about Wi-Fi, or even about cybercrime. It was about boundaries, accountability, and the danger of enabling bad behavior. Elijah didn't ask for a fight. All he wanted was to protect something as simple and personal as his internet connection. But when entitlement, denial, and arrogance collided, it became a battle for truth. What happened to the Ellisons is a reminder that turning a blind eye to wrongdoing, especially in our own homes, only makes it worse. Patty refused to believe her son was capable of harm, and in doing so, she let it spiral into something far more destructive. Meanwhile, Elijah stayed calm, documented everything, and trusted the process. There's power in patience, in preparation, and in knowing when to stand your ground, even when the world is calling you the villain. So whether it's a neighbor crossing the line, or someone using your kindness against you, remember, you don't have to shout to fight back. You just need the truth, and the courage to act on it.